Hi everyone, it's Vicky. Welcome to my channel. And today I have another Venus and Mars go to the movies. My husband and I saw, before our Alaska cruise, we went and saw Jurassic Park. And since we returned, we went and saw, is it called, I wrote it down because I always get the name of it wrong, 3,000 Years of Longing. So I'm going to start with Jurassic Park. So probably by now, if you were really into that brand, that, you know, that group of movies, the Jurassic Park movies, you probably have already seen it. Jurassic Park Dominion, I think is the name, the correct name. I think I have raindrops on my glasses. It's been raining. We just got home. You've probably already seen it, but for those who haven't and are considering it, or maybe even just have already decided to wait till it's on TV, I'll tell you what we thought, right? Now, I really liked it. I really did. Jerry thought it was okay. Obviously, none of the movies are going to have the same impact that the first one had because it was so new. But as far as any of the follow-up movies that I've seen, and I've seen one or two, I'm not sure. I don't know how many of them I've seen. But anyway, I like this one. It was a little bit different. This was sort of a Jurassic Park meets Jewel of the Nile or one of those. It just reminded me of the movies Jewel of the Nile. What was some of the others? Raiders of the Lost Ark. Just that kind of feel to it to me. Or even that new, the one that I watched on Disney called River Cruise, I think might be called. More kind of that feel. But one of the things about this movie is that there's two different storylines separate and then they intersect. And I've heard other people say they didn't like that about the movie. I actually did like that about the movie. Yeah, it was a bit predictable, I'll say that, but it was suspenseful, and you do kind of have to suspend your disbelief in this movie because there's several parts where, you know, again, I try not to spoil it, but let's just say there's several parts where someone's being shot at, that there's no way that they would have gotten out without being shot in the situation. So you do have to suspend your disbelief. Plus, there's one big faux pas I saw in the movie that I won't mention now because I don't want to give away anything with the plot, but maybe later I'll come back and write it in the comments at some point. All right, so at the beginning they're kind of talking about, and the whole thing is sort of, you know, a conundrum they've got themselves into because they created those dinosaurs, but, you know, now what? You know, they escaped, they started, you know, populating the world. So what do? Do you destroy them? Do you contain them in some sort of preserve? Or do you just let them go free? I mean, man's gotten involved. So now what? You know, you've created this. What are you going to do? What's the most humane thing to do? And that's kind of, for me, that was sort of an overlying thought through all of this movie. It may not be for everybody, but that definitely hit me as kind of an overlying theme or my thought process through the whole thing. I think that the movie is different enough from the other Jurassic Park movies that I think it kind of stands on its own, and probably why I like it second best to all of them. The first one I like best because it was new and certainly not predictable as much because it was new for sure. But yeah, I think it's better than the other ones I've seen, and characters were new and interesting. Some of the concepts you'll see the concepts are kind of new. Jerry said it was okay, and he's not sure that it was his favorite, and he thought it was a little bit predictable, but I will tell you, he was engrossed with it the whole time. Engrossed enough to where when I pointed out the actual faux pas that's in the movie, where something works one way one time and different another, he didn't even catch it because he was that engrossed into it to where, you know, he suspended his disbelief completely. He was in it. So, all right. So that's the thought of Jurassic Park. Yes, I'm glad I went and saw it. I liked it. I definitely, and I'm kind of glad we saw it on a big screen. I think that's just the type of movie that's better on a big screen, but I think I would equally like the movie on a small screen. All right, so the next one we saw was, I have to keep looking at this to remember, 3,000 Years of Longing. A little bit more complicated movie, And I didn't think Jerry was going to like it. In fact, I heard someone snoring, and I kind of thought it was him, and I kind of touched him and stuff and realized it wasn't him, it was someone else. But 3,000 Years of Longing, it's really hard to describe without telling you a little bit about the plot of the movie, so I will. But what I'll say to defend myself on that is, I'm not going to, give the whole thing away, but if you go to any movie right now and they show the previews for this, they will tell you as much as I'm going to tell you in just the previews. I knew this going in, but basically it's a genie in a bottle story. And for a reason, the genie tells of his past times that he's been out of the bottle. And I found those stories were pretty fascinating to watch. My disappointment with it was that I could have gone for a couple more stories of him being in the bottle. They only showed 3. Maybe that's to keep the movie at a certain length, but I could have stood for a couple more rounds of his life when he was out of the bottle. But yeah, I thought it was good. Jerry liked it too. He didn't think it was a movie that had to be seen on the big screen. It probably doesn't have to be seen on the big screen, but that made it all the much bigger, I guess. But yeah, I liked it. It's interesting because it tells a story, and it is a story of storytellers. So I'm not going to say a whole lot more about it, but I will say it is a little different than any movie I can quite put my finger on. It's not an Aladdin type genie in a bottle. It's a little different than that. But yeah, it's not a kid's movie at all. So yeah, it's, there's the protagonist or whatever, the main female character she is a professional story, not a storyteller. She's a scholar of stories, and how things are passed down from generation to generation, and that's why we have stories of things that happened before everyone could read and write. So I don't want to tell a whole lot more, but she's pretty prim, British, and she happens upon a genie in a bottle. So I think it's worth seeing. Yeah. So that's it for those 2. I have seen 2 other movies. I saw the DC League of Pets by myself. That was before we went on vacation. And then just before we went on vacation, I went and saw, I got to read it here, Mac and Rita, with a female friend. So let me know if you want a Venus and Vetus review of those 2 movies. They will not be Venus and Mars because Jerry wasn't interested in seeing either of those 2 movies. But anyway, enjoy the show if you go.